To the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show Holiday Special. And Gino and I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, you name it.
Kwanzaa, whatever.
And we thank you for joining us every Thursday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. right here on AM 1220 KHTS. And soon to be from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock with a real estate hour and a finance hour to make sure we go deep on subjects that can change your life. And that's our goal, is to change your life in 2013. And speaking of changing your life, we have somebody who has absolutely 100% changed my life. I've been in this industry for 25 years now, and it's amazing how we go about just doing things the same way over and over and thinking we really know what we're doing. And this individual that's coming up here in just a couple minutes changed that thought process, because I thought I knew what I was doing until Barry Habib, who's going to be here in just a few minutes, taught us what we really needed to know about our industry and what the numbers really mean, so that we can really add value to our clients' lives and understand the numbers so that we can choose the opportune moment for our clients when they should lock or not lock, and what the indicators mean for the future. And this person, Barry Habib, who's coming on here in just a minute, this is somebody who's a guest expert on Fox News. He's on CNBC, even was the producer of Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise. I mean, this guy does a little bit of everything, and a very, very good friend of mine. And I'm really pleased that he's taking time out of his busy schedule, starting up a brand new project called MBS Highway that's informs everybody across the nation. We're talking to all the mortgage people across the nation what they need to know about our industry. Today with us in the house is Barry Habib. Thanks for joining us, Barry.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Well, thanks for. I had to take a deep breath just to try to get in all that information of all the stuff you've done over the years.
I'm trying to keep busy.
Trying. You don't know anything else, Barry. I mean, if you're so fortunate to be tuning in today, because Barry knows what he's talking about. Like I said, I love watching you on CNBC, Barry, and Fox News and all that, informing, we're talking the nation, what they need to know, what the numbers really mean. And Barry, thank you for joining us so we can share with our listeners what the numbers mean today and what we can expect in 2013. Is that all right, buddy?
Well, thank you, and thank you for the great job that you guys do informing people and helping them out making their decisions.
Well, Gino had a great question to start off, because this is something I know you talk a lot about, Barry, and why you are so popular is because you understand how this can affect us globally, and Gino had a great question for you.
Yeah, Barry, I've been really, first of all, thank you for joining us today, and I've just been like racking my brain about real estate cycles and how the market's different today and where the market's going, and I can't get it out of my head that, this time it's different. And I think this time it's different because of the globalization that we've had for these economies. And I'm looking at we've basically gone through a worldwide recession. And when I got the news this morning that Greece was finally upgraded from trash, I was saying, it feels like, we led the charge when we were crashing, and it feels like we're starting to lead the recovery worldwide. Do you agree with that?
It's difficult to know whether or not the recovery is sustainable, if it has legs. Speaking globally, I think that things are a little worse off in China than people lead on. I think that Europe is very fragile. It's interesting to see if they'll come out of this without sort of double dipping into recession. And with regards to, even if you talk about Japan, they're about to embark on an enormous level of money printing and easy monetary policy. So there's a lot going on in the world. Everybody seems like they want to debase their currency, and it can impact the U.S. If you think about our housing market on the coasts, one of the reasons why it's been able to be so robust is because of the weakness of the dollar relative to, say, currency like the euro. And it makes U.S. real estate cheap to foreigners. It's why New York is kind of hung in there. And if you think about the West Coast and how it's affected by Asian currency, if Japan starts to really print money like I think they're going to and debase their currency, you'd have a little bit more trouble from Asians to come over here and purchase U.S. property. So depending on how the strength of our economy is and the strength of our real estate market, global economies definitely have an impact on where we are and where we're headed.
So, and thank you for that, Barry. And if you just tuned in, we're speaking with Barry Habib, who's a expert contributor on Fox News, CNBC, restarting up his own new project called MBS Highway, which basically informs the entire mortgage industry and real estate industry what's going on with the numbers on a daily basis. And Barry, you help us so much. Every day I tune into your video, and it tells me, okay, that's what these numbers are, which is important. But what's even better, Barry, is you help us know what the numbers mean. I mean, like when we were talking about the job numbers, I beat the drum all the time, Barry, about how important jobs are for recovery. And of course, real estate industry can help us, lead that charge, but we need jobs. And the job trends have been going all over the place from 325 to 417. And of course, that had a lot to do with, Sandy, Hurricane Sandy. But you were mentioning on your video that to really have an impact, we need to have the job numbers
the
be
initial
close,
claims,
initial claims numbers to be closer to 300 instead of trending 350. Am I right?
You're 100% right. And when we see those initial claims numbers come out every Thursday, they've taken on added significance because the Federal Reserve's told us that they'll keep interest rates low so long as two things don't happen. One is that we don't see greater than 2.5% inflation, and we should be good on that for at least a little while. There's a lot more slack in the economy. There's not a lot of wage pressure inflation, so that should be okay. But the other is a 6.5% rate of unemployment. And while that's still a ways off, no one's going to wait till the last minute. So as we begin to approach that number, people are going to anticipate that. And remember, the first thing the Fed's going to do isn't increase interest rates. It's stop with the quantitative easing, things like buying treasuries and buying mortgage bonds, which will have an adverse effect on mortgage rates. Mortgage rates will begin to rise. So we look at these numbers and we try to look at them even with more focus. So what would it take to get the unemployment rate significantly lower than where it is now? Well, people have to stop getting laid off or getting fired from their jobs and filing for unemployment benefits for the first time, which is what this indicator tells us. So when we see 350, 400,000 range of claims, that's not enough to warrant a big drop in the rate of unemployment. However, it starts to drop towards 325 or 300, we could start to see the unemployment rate gradually dropping to a level that might cause the Fed to think about slowing down or stopping to purchase things like mortgage bonds.
Barry, that was absolutely spot on. And, one of the things that Don and I talk about all the time with this initial claims number is we're so focused on this initial claims number, and then now tomorrow we're going to be looking at GDP, but we always have to be careful not to be too emotional, and we're always looking at trends rather than the 1 week number because they can be thrown off. And one of my concerns is if we're looking at these trends and we start to see that number go down, as you maybe mentioned, the market's going to anticipate the unemployment figures. So we're going to see a change in interest rates and we're going to see a change in the stock market prior to us actually hitting that number. Was that accurate?
Yes, that's correct. That's that. The market's always trying to anticipate, which way the needle's pointing. Where is the trend headed? So yes, but we have so many wild cards today. One of them being the fiscal cliff. I'm sure people have heard so much about it. And, I always like to just start with a very brief synopsis of fiscal cliff at the end of the year, just a few short days away now, 10 or 11 days away from now. We're in a position where we will see income taxes rise in several areas. Everybody's marginal tax rate is set to rise before George Bush had reduced them. So think about, depending on where your income sits, a nice significant rise. In addition to that, over the past couple of years, a few years, we've enjoyed a tax holiday on the payroll taxes. So we've gotten a 2% discount on the taxes we pay on our normal payroll tax for FICA. That's our Social Security tax. You're supposed to pay roughly 6.2% from the employer, 6.2% from the employee, and the employees had that reduced temporarily by 2% down to 4.2. So now that's set to expire. And on your capital gains, automatically, Obamacare is pushing capital gains from 15% to 18.8%. So we're getting hit with a lot of taxes, and the danger here is that this can have an adverse effect on our overall economic recovery and economic buoyancy. Now, the level of gross domestic product is roughly on an annual basis about 2%. That's measures the growth of our economy. If we take a look at these increases in taxes combined with the mandatory spending cuts, what happens is that you might push us into recession. The estimates are that we go from 2% positive to perhaps 2% negative, and that means that we'd be in a recessionary time, and that impacts everybody. More unemployment, problems with the housing market might start to reemerge, even though I think it's strong right now. So, guys, these are things that are good for us in the long run, but if you have a patient that's sick, you can't just jam all kinds of doses of medicine down their throat in one day and expect them to get better. The idea is you have to try to nurse that patient back to health. So while we need to do some of these things, they should be introduced moderately and gradually, but here's the trick, without saying, hey, we'll kick the can down the road and never address.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I hope you're listening to that great advice and good information. That's why we have Barry Habib with MBS Highway, Fox News, CNBC. He's going to share with us a little bit more about our global economy, how it affects us right here on the West Coast, and also how the existing home sales and the strength of our real estate market and where we're going in 2013. When we get back with the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.